Hello, good afternoon, and a very warm welcome to Saints Live. I'm Kenzie Benali.
And I'm Steve Forbes.
Well, we hope you all had a very Merry Christmas yesterday. But Steve, it's good to be back, isn't it? Southampton, of course, returning to Premier League action for the first time in over a month as we welcome Brighton to St Mary's Stadium today. And joining us throughout the afternoon are our two guests who I'm sure are very much looking forward to getting their fix of festive football. It is, of course, former Saints captain Dean Hammond and NBC's lead soccer writer Joe Prince-Wright. Joe, we'll come to you first. Merry Christmas. How was your day yesterday?
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you all. Happy holidays. It was great. I spent some time with family back in Hampshire and up in London right now. Ahead of working at Arsenal tonight as well. So busy, festive period as always for us all in the football world. But hope you all had a great time. Hope everyone watching had a great time. And like you said, I'm delighted to be back with you for this big game for Saints today.
Oh yeah, we're so looking forward to it. And Dean, wonderful to see you as always. Hopefully recovered from the food coma from yesterday. How was it?
It was very, very nice, Kenzie. Yeah, lovely Christmas. Spent it with family. Santa came for the kids, which is always good, and puts a smile on everyone's face. But yeah, looking forward to getting back to the football and a little bit of a welcome break, I must admit, from family time. But no, brilliant to be back and looking forward to the game today.
Yeah, it's great to see you guys, as always. Now, the team news will be coming up in under 15 minutes' time. We know that Tino Livramento is still unavailable. Also, Juan Larios unlikely to feature too. Theo Walcott, well, he came off injured in that cup game against Lincoln, so we're unsure on his availability. Also, Romeo Lavia didn't even feature in the squad for that game. He's being eased back into first-team football, so he could be involved today, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, Joe, you were at the Lincoln game here at St Mary's on that Tuesday as a fan. Do you expect Southampton to line up in a similar fashion today?
You know what, Steve? I'm not quite sure what to expect after that. It was really a lot of formations, a lot of different players coming in and out. I'd probably like to see the likes of Stuart Armstrong, maybe Aribo, maybe Sam Edozie start the game to be a bit more positive, get on the ball, keep it. And it's pretty clear the new manager, Nathan Jones, wants to play with the ball, wants to possess. And it's a very different style than we saw under Ralph Hasenhüttl the past nearly 4 years. So I think they need to get as many creators on the pitch as possible. But judging by the display against Lincoln, I'd probably start with a back four. I thought the team generally looked more comfortable in that game when they went to a 4-3-3 and just generally have been. But, you know, the new manager has already said they need to be flexible tactically. It was always that way at Luton. And I think that they'll probably just switch between formations during a game. But that said, you have to be wary because Brighton usually rely heavily on their wing backs and play sort of a back five or back three and just flood those wide areas. So you don't really want to get outnumbered in those areas of the pitch. So honestly, Steve, after going to that Lincoln game as a fan, I don't really know what to expect. I'm not even sure the Saints players, until they knew the team today, maybe knew what to expect. And it's just, you know, new ideas, new manager, a new era starting. So I think it's quite exciting, though. And it will keep opponents guessing as well as all of us as Saints fans.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great way to look at it, isn't it? Exciting times indeed. Well, Dean, let's come to you and get your thoughts. It's been some time since we've asked you for your predicted starting 11. How do you see Saints lining up today?
Well, I'm excited to see how Nathan plays, what formation he uses, and the work they've done over the last 6 weeks or so together. The time he's used. I'm sure he's used it effectively. I'm sure he's got his messages across to the players as best as he can. I think he will continue with the three at the back, the 3-5-2. I think, from history, from Nathan's experience as manager, he's always wanted to play two strikers up front. I think that formation gives him the ability to be able to do that. I also think, Shay Adams and Adam Armstrong can create a good partnership if they're given enough time to play together. I think they enjoy playing together. Now the attributes complement each other. So I think he'll go with the three. Wing backs will be really, really important. I think Nathan's touched on it and mentioned it, that he wants his wing backs to play high up the pitch, to be attacking, to be positive. I think Carl Walker-Peters will potentially come back in after playing 60 minutes during the week, which is a big, big positive. Player with huge ability and so important to the Southampton team. And then it's the centre of the pitch, really. I hope, and I'm praying Lavia is fit and able to play, because I think he's so important to Southampton. I think he's a huge player for the football club. I think he then improves James Ward-Prowse's game because he gives him a bit more license to be free and express himself. And then I agree with Joe. I'd love to get Stuart Armstrong firing at all cylinders, because I think when he's playing at his best, he's so effective for the team. And I think it's down to Nathan to get the best out of him. And I think also centrally in that formation is better for him as well, because he can dictate play, he can get on the ball, he can create chances. So I think it will be a similar format, a similar team to Liverpool. But I would like to see Stuart Armstrong in the middle of the pitch. I'd like to see Shay Adams and Adam Armstrong playing up front together. And I'd like to see the fullbacks playing high up the pitch. And Southampton being really positive, really aggressive, and taking this game to Brighton today.
Yeah, well, let's dive a little deeper into that Carabao Cup game against Lincoln. Joe, Southampton did get the job done in the end, but it wasn't always plain sailing.
No, it wasn't, Steve. I think it's fair to say it was a rusty display, and that's to be expected, right? After, new manager coming in, new shape, a lot of new ideas. And as we're seeing, got off to a tough start with a bit of a freak goal there. I mean, I was just walking out of my pie when that happened. It was so early on, and I couldn't believe to see the Lincoln players celebrating. But, that's kind of a freak goal, and then you're up against it, and then Lincoln can sit back deep, and that really suited them. But, I think Saints looked sharper as the game went on. I thought Shay Adams was excellent, got his 2 goals, absolute menace up top, ran himself into the ground, and just was really unlucky a few other occasions. But what I took from this, Steve, is really interesting to see what the likes of Guardiola and Klopp were saying in midweek as well, about players who went to the World Cup actually came back and looked a bit fitter and sharper than players who have had the last 5 or 6 week rest. And I think all of us probably thought, the players having a rest over the winter break, they'll be great. They'll be firing all cylinders when they come back. But Dean will tell you can't replicate that proper game experience, can you? You can't really replicate intense training and friendlies, as we're kind of seeing with these missed chances here. It looked like just Saints were just lacking a bit of sharpness in the final third. And, overall, it was good. They played much better when they went back from a back 3 to a back 4 and brought on some of the wide players. I thought Armstrong and Edozie were excellent when they were getting on the ball and running at defenders. And of course, as we're seeing late on, there was 2 huge chances to wrap it up and put some extra gloss on the scoreline. But overall, work in progress. There's work to do. We know that. I think, as we're seeing here, not being clinical, that is the main problem Saints had for a long time now. And that has to change if this season is going to be a more successful one in the second half of the campaign. So overall, job done, like you said, Steve. And I enjoyed my pie in the end, and a win was always good.
Gotta love a good pie, eh? And a Saints win, all good round. Well, one player that's caught the eye recently, Dean, is Sam Edozie. I mean, Joe just mentioned it there. He obviously should have got a goal against Lincoln, but just how bright has he looked in a Saints shirt this season?
He's a talent, Kenzie. He really is. He looks like he's a very shrewd signing. He's come from Man City. He's 19 years of age. I think the club have put him on a 5-year contract, which is brilliant because it gives him the chance to develop. But he's brave on the ball. He's quick. He's direct, which I like. You don't always get players like that in the modern day. They kind of want to be more tricky and more flary, but he gets the ball. He knows where the goal is. He'll take shots on. And he's the type of player that gets you off your seat and you enjoy watching play. The issue that you might have is the formation at the moment. When Southampton do play that 5-3-2 or 3-5-2, where do you play him? I don't think his best position obviously is playing as a wing back. He's more of a 4-3-3. But we saw him came on against Liverpool, in that second half and had a real impact on the game. And I think that's probably where he's at the moment in terms of Southampton, being that impact player, coming on when defences are tired, when the game is stretched, when it's a little bit more open, and there's a bit more ground that he can run into. We're seeing highlights of him taking players on, being positive. He's a real talent. So he's been really effective so far. And I think he can have an influence on the season. I don't think it's for him to start yet. I think it's for him, like I say, coming on and creating chances late on in games, having an impact, scoring goals and developing his game and being patient with him. He showed glimpses and we all get excited and we want him to play every week. But he's a young man. He really is. And I think he's been a really good signing. I'm excited to see him play. And he reminds me of Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. I was there when Alex came through and he's very similar. Alex was direct. He was quick. He was fearless. And I want to see that in Sam. So I don't want that taken out of him. I don't want him, bundled down in tactical awareness. I want him to be free and play. And I think if he can do that and come onto the pitch during this season, and then he'll grow and he'll go on to have a brilliant Southampton career. I really believe that.
Well, the next round of the Carabao Cup, Saints have been drawn at home to Man City, who have a pretty decent record in that competition, Joe, so it doesn't really get much harder than that.
Yeah, it's looking through. So what, 6 of the last 9 they've won, and 4 of the last. Yeah, they love that competition, obviously, Steve. Yeah, I kind of celebrated when Saints got a home draw, and then I groaned when it was Man City. It was a real mix of emotions there. But I'll try and take the positives here. I was looking at the other team Saints could have played, and I think City will rotate their squad for this game. So perhaps it's better to play them than the likes of a Newcastle, who are really flying high and going to take this competition really, really seriously and don't have a lot else to play for. But if you look at Man City, I've looked in the schedule here, Steve, for them. They have an FA Cup game against Chelsea 3 days before this game against Saints. And then they have the Manchester Derby in the Premier League a few days after they play Saints. So just saying that could work in Saints' favour there, could benefit them, that Man City might rotate a few around, and that might be the lesser priority for them. So again, I'm sure it'll be a great atmosphere at St Mary's, home cup tie, quarter-final. Obviously, played against Man City in the FA Cup quarter-final at home last season and pushed them all the way for the majority of that game. So hopefully they can go one step further in this competition. And again, trying to get the positive vibes going. Yes, Man City are a tremendous football team. But, you know, in a cup game, anything can happen. We've seen that over the years with Saints, and they're a very, very good cup team. And hopefully they got another shock up their sleeves for us.
Oh yeah, fingers crossed indeed. Well, before we go any further, let's take a look at what the fans are saying at home. Great to see those comments coming in to us. We'll start with this one from Donna on Facebook. Hello. She says 3 points needed. Come on, you Saints. We've got another comment here from Daniel Smith on Facebook. He says, come on, you Saints. Colin Smith also joining the conversation on Facebook. He says, let's get behind the team and new manager and get the result today. Matthew Walls, good afternoon. He's on YouTube. He says, come on, you Reds, and he's going for a 2-0 Saints win today. And Peter also joining us. Hello, he's on YouTube, and he says it could be a season-defining game.
Yeah, great to hear for the fans, and keep those comments coming in as always. Now, one player who did make their return from injury against Lincoln was Carl Walker-Peters. He got his first minutes since the injury he suffered against Bournemouth in October, and Nathan spoke about him in his press conference.
Well, I was getting have to build him in because, you know, we can't push them. So 60 minutes was always the plan tonight. And that's the thing as well, you know, we don't just have to win a football game tonight, but we have to implement people, because this is effectively like our final pre-season game for going back into thing, which, you know, you have to take into consideration as well. So look, there's a lot that are coming back from certain things, a lot that we're building up. And that probably showed a bit tonight.
Did you make this performance?
But yeah, I thought he did okay. I thought, you know, he was lively, he was bright. Defensively, not a problem in terms of anything. And then going forward, we want a bit more from him once he gets rhythm, but he'll get there.
Dean, just how good is it to see Carl back in the side, and what does he bring to this Southampton team?
Well, he's a top Premier League player, Kenzie, an international player, or potentially an international player. I think we've missed him, but I also think the injury potentially came at a good time for Carl, just to have that little bit of a rest physically and mentally. I think he looks like he put a bit too much pressure on himself because of the form he showed for Southampton since he's been at the football club. He's been absolutely brilliant. He's that outlet. He's that attacking threat where he creates chances. He can score goals as well. And there was a lot of pressure on him because every attack we built up to, we kind of tried to go through Carl Walker-Peters, that switch of play, and try and get him into one-on-one situations to either create a really good cross or combine one-on-one midfield players or the strikers. So it's great to have him back, and he brings that pace as well and that energy, which I mentioned that I think Nathan will want in his team from his wing back. So if we can get him back up to full fitness, have to take the time with him again, because we don't want the injuries reoccurring. We want him fit for the rest of the season. But you know, he's defensively, I think he's improving all the time. He's very, very good in one-on-one situations, as we can see from the blocks. He's brave as well. He wants to defend. There's a few things that he can improve on aerially, I think, but that will come with more experience and more game time. But he's a brilliant player. He really is, and it's great to have him back in the team. And obviously, with Livramento getting fitter all the time, I think that competition for places.
Dean, it wouldn't be a Saints Live if I wasn't rudely interrupting you to bring the team news. I apologise once again, but this is interesting. Lots to unpack here. Armel Bella-Kotchap on the bench. Lianco coming in to a back four, it seems. Sam Edozie starting as well. So let's take a look at that Saints 11 in full. In goal, it's Gavin Bazunu. The back four, Carl Walker-Peters, Mohamed Salisu, Lianco and Roman Perro. In the middle, it's our captain James Ward-Prowse, alongside him Ibrahima Diallo. Then it's Moye Elyounoussi, Moussa Djenepo, as I say, Sam Edozie starting today, and Shay Adams completes the Southampton lineup. Then the Southampton substitutes are as follows. It's Willie Caballero, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Armel Bella-Kotchap, Duje Saleta-Sarr, Joe Aribo, Stuart Armstrong, Jimmy J Morgan, Sekou Mara and Adam Armstrong. Dean, let's come to you. Apologies once again for cutting you off there. But lots to discuss here. We weren't sure what this lineup would hold. Some interesting starters there.
Yeah, I'm just quickly trying to write it out, Kenzie, and try to figure out the thinking behind it, potentially the formation. Maybe it could be a 4-4-2, or it could be a 4-5-1 with Elyounoussi, I think, maybe playing off Shay Adams, potentially. I think Edozie would want wide, so I don't think he would play up front, but could do, because he has that pace to run in behind and that creativity to stretch defences. I think it will be a back four, but whether it's a 4-3-3 or a 4-4-2 or a 4-5-1, I'm not too sure. But Nathan using the squad, rotating the players, and I think he's looked at probably the team and the squad and the players that he's had the chance to work with over the last 4 or 5 weeks, and these are players that he's going to put his trust in, and players that he believes can get a really good result against Brighton today, a good Brighton team. So I'm not too sure, Kenzie, is the answer, but I'm intrigued to see, and I'm excited to see, because there's some attacking players on the pitch, there's some pace on the pitch, there's creative players. But also, I think one thing that's really important that Southampton need to start doing this season is keeping clean sheets and not falling behind in games as well. I think that's really important, that you're always fighting against it. So it will be interesting to see. It really, really will. But a strong bench as well, players that can make an impact from the substitute, which is important at this level. So I'm intrigued. I am, but I'm not sure is the answer.
Yeah, it certainly will be intriguing. Well, Joe, let's come to you, shall we, to see if you might be able to shed some light on this Southampton lineup. You said earlier this is a new era for the club. How excited are you about this starting 11?
I'm excited. I'm still, like Dean, trying to figure out exactly who's going to play where, but I think probably leans more towards a 4-5-1 situation with, like Dean mentioned, Elyounoussi just playing off Shay Adams, Edozie and Djenepo out wide. And what I did like in the game that I did watch in person at St Mary's against Lincoln was that when Saints did get on the counter and did break forward, they were very dangerous and committed bodies forward all the time. So I like that Diallo's in there, that natural holder. I think that allows Ward-Prowse to get a bit further up the pitch and influence the game a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, you look at the bench as well. Pretty interesting to see Jimmy J Morgan on the bench as well, the young forward. Hopefully he can get on. But Bella-Kotchap on the bench, maybe that again is just that rustiness I was talking about. Yes, he went away to the World Cup, but didn't feature a lot for Germany and had that shoulder injury before as well. So maybe he's just getting up to speed. But it's a fresh start and a clean slate for all these players. So looking on the bench as well, Aribo, Stuart Armstrong, Adam Armstrong, Sekou Mara, Ainsley Maitland, some really good options as well. So maybe they're just looking to kind of game plan it, get to the 60th minute, be a tight game. And then you've got lots of great attacking options there. So, yeah, in short, don't really know what's going on there, but it's going to be interesting to see. And it's probably going to be like that for the next few weeks until we finally figure out what Nathan Jones wants to do.
Yeah, it certainly is interesting, and that's what the fans are also saying, watching in from around the globe. Stephen Townsend on YouTube has said, an interesting lineup, strong and with speed, will be a good game to watch. Certainly will. Also, Barry Norris has said a big win is needed today. Stephen Yolland has said, just play with guts and commitment. That's all we ask. And then also St Hudson on Twitter said, "Big up the mighty Chapel, massive. See you soon, Southampton." So great to get all those comments coming in from around the globe. Now, the last time Brighton played here at St Mary's Dean was a 1-1 draw, a great finish from Armando Broja on the day to put Saints in front, and then a rather frustrating late equaliser at the end. What do you remember of that game?
Exactly that, Steve. A game that Southampton deserved to win and probably should have won on the day. Like you mentioned, it was a brilliant finish from Broja. The composure he showed, that turn, and the finish with the outside of his foot is pure quality, really is. And we knew he possessed that. But he had a couple of chances before that, if I remember rightly, where Sanchez made a couple of really good saves. Him and Shay Adams, that first half, I think, played particularly well. Put the Brighton defence under pressure, pressed Duffy, pressed Byrne at every opportunity. And it was a game that Southampton should have won from the position they were. And then Brighton in the 98th minute got that free kick where you have to say it's a brilliant touch and it's a fantastic finish, the swivel and turn. But it was that we discussed it. I remember after the show, I think we were actually live there as well, where James Ward-Prowse had made that decision to go back onto the line and he just couldn't quite recover in time to catch Mopay offside. So it was a little bit deflating at the end, but we saw glimpses in that game of how Southampton were going to try and press, the energy they used and the chances they created against a good Brighton team. But disappointment from not winning the game after being 1-0 up in the 98th minute. You'd expect to win, but there was good moments in there, and the partnership of Broja and Shay Adams was exciting on the day.
Yes, indeed. Well, Joe, what have you made of Brighton this season? They're currently sitting 7th in the league after an absolutely brilliant start, but 2 wins in their 8 Premier League games since Roberto De Zerbi took charge, and of course defeats on penalties against Charlton last week.
Yeah, I've just kind of peak Brighton, I think, Kenzie. Just lovely to watch, keep the ball really well, fluid football. Very similar to what Graham Potter did, really. It's been a pretty seamless transition in a lot of ways, but I think they take a few more risks is the kind of thing that I've seen under De Zerbi. They're a bit more open, leaving themselves a little bit more vulnerable defensively. So that's something the Saints can really take advantage of today. But again, it's the same problem for Brighton the last few years. I mean, they just don't score anywhere near enough as much as they should for the quality of chances they create. I mean, they're the kings of the expected goal, right? That stat, if they lived up to that, they'd be in the Champions League every single season. So they're a wonderful team to watch for the neutral. I think many people around the world love watching Brighton play, but they just need that clinical finisher. And they've had different players stepping up the season. Pascal Gross, Leandro Trossard have been excellent in those attacking fluid midfield roles, cutting in off the left and right. And I think Saints going to have to really watch those players today. Just their creativity and how well as a unit they know each other. Because as I said, De Zerbi hasn't really changed a lot from the Graham Potter days, but just a little bit more open defensively. I think that's the main thing they'll want to tighten up in the second half of the season. So and obviously they had a lot of players go to the World Cup as well. So let's see how that impacts them. No McAllister today, so that's a bonus for Saints, but you've got some really good talented players, good young players. And I think, there's a rivalry between Brighton and Saints, but kind of a respectful, friendly one over the years. And, it's always good, these games, I think, just a short trip up and down the South Coast. It's been a good rivalry kind of brewing as both clubs came up through the leagues together over the years, and Dean knows all about that. So it's going to be interesting to see, I think, how Brighton kick on in the second half of the season, and I think it could be a great atmosphere at St Mary's today.
Yeah, hopefully it will be, Joe. Now, Dean, there was something in the news over the past week that we wanted to get your views on, and that's that former Premier League ref Howard Webb has said he wants to see more footballers become referees after they've retired. He says it'll improve the standard of refereeing in the country. So I suppose, is that something you'd like to see? Do you think it actually would improve things? And then also, what are the chances of you getting down there and maybe reffing a few games?
I knew you were going to ask me that. I think it would improve the game. I think that's definitely right. But there's a bit of a stigma, if I'm honest, from ex-players, current players of maybe going into that part of the game or that industry. It's difficult, Steve. It really is. Are you going to see ex-players becoming referees and managing games? I think it would work, but you're going to have to get someone that's going to have to take that step and do it, and be the leader of that. And then I think you'll have others that will follow. Am I that person? I'm not too sure. But I think what you need, Steve, is I think you could bring it in softly. I think you could have former players working with the VAR situations and advising on that and communicating with referees in certain moments, and also on reflection as well, learning together. You think about, as a player, you would dissect games afterwards and review games afterwards. You could do that with referees, and you could have an open conversation of what a player thought in that moment and what a referee thinks in that moment. Because I think at times, referees and players speak different languages. We've had it on the show many times. I think sometimes referees, because they didn't play the game, and it's not a criticism, it's just a reality, they don't quite appreciate moments in games and what's actually happening. And is it a red card? Is it a yellow card? Is that deliberate? Is that just a player that's tired, physically and mentally drained? I think if you have players in that situation, that could really, really help, where referees, rightly or wrongly so, go by the law book. And that's what they're there for. But they kind of they're not allowed that freedom to make judgments themselves, which I think is disappointing. I think that's where coaches and players probably do get frustrated. So I think if you can get players involved in this side of the game, it could really, really improve and really, really help. Now, I think referees do a great job. I probably didn't think that when I was a player, but looking at it now, they have a really hard job, because, I watch quite a lot of rugby now, and the respect the players in rugby have for the referee is fantastic. We don't have that in football, and that's unfortunate. So if you had more players, would they demand more respect? Potentially. But if referees got more decisions right, I think that would drive forward a little bit more trust and a bit more respect. And I think former players could definitely help that. So I think it will be a long process, and I think you will get some ex-players getting involved. When that will be, I'm not too sure. But I think that, you could bring in softly with the VAR situation, communications, talking to each other a little bit more could really, really help.
Yeah, I think Dean Hammond as a referee would certainly command respect on the pitch. And our graphics design team here at Saints Live certainly think you look fetching in all black, Dean.
Am I sending myself off there, or is I sending someone else off?
Maybe a slightly contentious decision there, yeah, maybe a harsh one.
I think that suits you, Dean. Joe, what about you? Any desire to referee one day?
Absolutely not. I think it's the hardest job in football. I think it's the hardest job. But Dean mentioned it there. Like Howard Webb coming in, obviously, he's been in Major League Soccer over the last few years and revamping how their referees have been officiating the games, and been seeing that up close and hearing a lot of good things about what he's done, especially with VAR and the way it works there. There's a lot more of a common sense approach taken. So love to see that. And Dean mentioned it extensively, having ex-pros on a board or alongside referees, VAR referees on a match day, just to help and explain, not to actually referee the game, but as advisors there. I think that would be really healthy for the game and help that respect level grow. But yeah, you will never see me as a referee because, it's a really tough job and a lot of respect for them, but I'm never going to do it.
Oh, yeah, tough gig indeed. Well, Joe, let's stick to you. I want to talk about the fact that we're not even halfway through the Premier League season. In fact, we are still 4 games away from that midway point. So with that in mind, how are you assessing these upcoming 4 matches? And with regards to a point tally, what is the minimum requirement for Southampton with the next 4 fixtures you can see there on the screen?
Oh, nice, easy question there, Kenzie. Obviously, you see those 4 games. This is a massive period for the club. All teams are going to be around you when all is said and done, probably. So I think you have to get 9 points from the next 4 games. I think you just have to, with to get to that halfway stage of the season around the 20-point marker. That would put you on course for the magic 40-point marker to stay in the Premier League. And that would be pretty much spot on, because I think the schedule was harsh for Saints. The way the fixtures computer spat those fixtures out, it was a really tough start to the season, and I kind of expected to be in this situation right now. They played a lot of the big boys early on, had the World Cup break. Maybe I thought Saints have had a few more wins on the board, but it's just the start of a very vital period today. You need to win this game against Brighton. The draw is okay, but I think it gives you massive positive momentum heading into these games against Fulham, Forest, Everton. And even if you look after that, there's some really winnable games coming up in January too. So today's crucial to set the tone for that. And I just want to see Saints, Dean mentioned it earlier, great point. I want to see them be harder to beat. I don't want to see, you can't beat yourself in games. You just have to stay in the game. And I think these 4 games, we will learn exactly where Saints are. I think maybe they're in a bit of a false position right now at this point of the season, given the lack of confidence, coming up against a lot of big teams back to back. And I just think we haven't seen enough resilience from them when they've gone behind in games this season. Start of the season, it was great. They were coming back and getting a lot of points, but the last few months before the break, it was really tough going. So yeah, long story short, 9 points from 12 would be phenomenal. And I think that is a good situation for Saints heading into this pivotal stretch of games, starting with the game against Brighton today.
Yeah, looking at this run of games, Dean, how big an opportunity is this for Nathan Jones to get his Southampton career off to a positive start?
It's huge, Steve. It really is. Like I say, it's unique where Nathan came in and took the Liverpool game. He didn't have to do that, so he showed his character, his personality. And then he's had time to work with the players. He's had a home game now in the Cup, so he's experienced St Mary's, which will be good for him and probably relax him a little bit. But if he can get a win in today, in the first Premier League game, and probably the first game you say he's in charge of, it'll be fantastic for him, for the players, and for the atmosphere within the ground. So I think it's really, really important. But I agree with Joe. It's, these next 4 games are huge for the football club. But I'd probably say 6 or 7 points would be a good return. But particularly the home games, the home form this season's been below par, really. In terms of results, I think it's 1 win we've had this season, which was a brilliant result against Chelsea. But we need more clean sheets. We need to be harder to beat, and maybe that's the team selection today. You look at the team. There's players there that can play on the break, that can run and are quick, and counter-attacking football. So maybe that's an approach that the Nathan will look at. But if we get a win today, it kind of changes everything. And Nathan needs to bring that now. He needs to come into the football club. The players are going to look at him, and he's got to bring that energy. He's got to bring that desire. He's got to bring that enthusiasm and continue to bring that every day in training. I'm sure he has, and today in particular. And if he can get a win today, it'd be brilliant for him, especially against a former club where I think he thinks he deserved a chance there and didn't get, in terms of the manager role. But yeah, it'd be brilliant for everyone if we got a win today for Southampton.
All right, then it's prediction time. So, Joe, we'll come to you first. Saints always seem to fare well at home on Boxing Day. How do you see this one going, and what's your score prediction?
You know what? I was going to go for a draw, Kenzie, but I feel like whenever we chat and whenever Dean's on the show as well, I just feel like more positive vibes are flowing as a Saints fan. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Southampton. I think they're going to get it done. It's going to be really tight and tense, as it always seems to be against Brighton over the last few seasons. But yeah, I think it's going to be another Boxing Day win for Saints, and hopefully the first of many under Nathan Jones. So feeling very, very positive.
Oh, well, that's what we like to hear. Dean, what about you? What's your score prediction?
The same, Kenzie. I'm going to tick all the boxes. I'm going to go for a 1-0 win. So I'm going to have a clean sheet. We're going to have a win, and a good start to the Christmas period for Southampton. Like I say, it's an important game. So a 1-0 win with a good defensive display, playing on that front foot, counter-attacking football with the exciting players that are in the team.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, Dean, Joe, thank you so much. Hopefully the players have had enough of feasting on turkey and can maybe stuff some seagull this afternoon. A win today could lift Southampton out of the relegation zone. Not long until kick-off here at St Mary's. As you can hear, the atmosphere is really building. Either way, we'll be back after the match on the final whistle, where we'll have all the post-match reaction and analysis. So do enjoy the game, and we'll see you then.
Bye for now.